Right.
Ready? Good morning and welcome to the CRTPO TCC meeting. This is Thursday, August 1st, 2024, and the time is now 10:02. We'll start with introductions at the table to my left.
Matt Kirkendall, City of Statesville.
Megan Green, Mecklenburg County Air Quality.
Heather Maloney, Town of Huntersville.
Erica Martin, Town of Morrisville.
Vaughn Hanson, Village of Wesley Chapel.
Todd Huntsinger, Town of Indian Trail.
Lee Jensen, Union County.
Justin Russell, Town of Stallings.
Alex Rosemary, NCDOT Integrated Mobility Division.
Travis Johnson, CRTPO.
Liz Babson, City of Charlotte.
Candace Rory, Charlotte Planning.
James Kelly, Town of Waxhaw.
Diane Thomas, Public Health Focus Area.
Emma Stogner, MTC.
Anil Paniker, NCDOT Division 12.
Gwen Cook, Greenway Focus Area.
Dave Campbell, Charlotte DOT.
Andrew Golden, Town of Davidson.
Aaron Tucker, Town of Cornelius.
Sean Epperson, NCDOT Division 10.
Dana Stujanki, Town of Matthews.
Steve Fry, Town of Mid Hill.
Thank you. And now we'll start at the front table and then go into the audience to my left, starting with Neil.
Will Snyder, CRTPO. Ryan Elward, CRTPO. Neil Burke, CRTPO. Robert Griffin, City of Statesville.
Bob Cook, CRTPO.
Andy Grinchman, Central Line.
Bill Washington, McAdams.
Michael Blake, Town of Huntersville. Alex McIntyre, New England.
Warren Vixie, Turnpike Authority.
David Tan, NCDOT.
Sabrina Kosher, RSH.
I'm Bolton.
Paul Benson, CRTPO.
Joanna Quinn, Charlotte DOT.
Martin Kinnaman, Charlotte DOT.
Alex Randy, Charlotte. Stafford, CRT.
Michael Stafford, NCDOT.
Not related.
Chris Bridges, CRTPO.
Debbie Day, CRTPO.
Jarrell Leonard, CRTPO.
All right, thank you. And again, welcome everyone. All right, may I have a motion to adopt today's agenda? In a second. Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, that carries unanimously. Next item. We need to adopt today's consent agenda. May I have a motion for the approval of the July 11th, 2024 TCC amendments, the 2024-2033 TIP amendments, the FY 2025 UPWP amendment, the Union County CTP amendments open public comment period, and the NCDOT functional classification change request. Again, may I have a motion for that action? A second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, that also carries unanimously. We have 5 business items to vote on today. So first, we're going to hear from Travis Johnson, and he's going to present on the 2026-2035 TIP development process.
Here we go. Hi, everyone. Travis Johnson with the CRTPO. We're here to talk about prioritization 7.0. So we have not one, but 2 presentations. And so let's get started. First, we're going to talk about the development of the regional impact local input points assignment. So we're going to be asking for an action request today. So that's going to be a recommend to the CRTPO board that it endorse the application of local input points to the draft regional impact project. So I want to go over a summary of the public feedback we have received to date. Again, keeping in mind that we still have 6 hours left of that public comment period. We'll go briefly over the scoring criteria and then talk about the schedule of CRTPO milestones for the regional impact in the next public comment phase. And again, go back to the action requested. So the public comment period started July 18th and goes until today at 5 p.m. So we'll be collecting those public comments, and we've been updating the comment log that has been in your agenda packet. If we receive any additional public comment that requires a response or rises to a level of importance, we will bring it to a transportation staff meeting for further discussion if needed. But the comments we have been receiving have been very similar And we'll go over those. So CRTPO released a press release. We went on our social media to announce this public comment period. And our website, we had a banner, we put it on a calendar, and we had a project page dedicated to this. Additionally, some of the news outlets picked up on our public comment period. WSOC TV9, Lake Norman Media Group, Axios, Cornelius Today, Charlotte Stories, and then South Charlotte Weekly all produced articles about our public comment period. A lot of the stories did kind of focus on Exit 27 and some Cornelius projects. So I think we'll not be surprised on the majority of the feedback we did receive. These are 4 of the stories that were posted online. And so these are the 4 stories that were posted online. Again, we're focused on Exit 27 and Cornelius projects. And later on, we'll talk about which projects received the most feedback. The comments are included in your TCC agenda packet, and that link was just updated this morning. I believe we're up to 107 comments as of this morning. In general, they were just either project or comments that were supportive of projects on the list. Some of them were negative on projects on the list. There was a few just general comments about transportation planning. And again, the significant of the number of the comments we received were about I-77 and Westmoreland Road, which is referred to as Exit 27. And again, because the news articles focused on this, we weren't really surprised that that was the majority of the comments that we received. Additionally, our webpage has received over 1,000 views in the past 30 days. And as you can see here, in the past 30 days, the P7.0 project page is our top page on the website. So we've been getting a lot of publicity and engagement with that. One modification that has occurred for the regional impact list is we have received a request from the French Broad River MPO. They have an interest in donating 14 points to us to apply to the Salisbury to Asheville passenger rail service. So this would upgrade rail infrastructure to support new intercity passenger service from Salisbury to Asheville on the AS line. It includes necessary infrastructure, station, and passenger equipment to eventually provide 3 round trips per day. And this is contingent upon an awarding of a federal grant. So other MPOs have the ability to donate or give points if they would like to see it assigned. And because a portion of this railway is in our planning jurisdiction in Iredell County, the number of points that would be our section of it is 14 points. So the French Broad River MPO is willing to give us those points if we are willing to apply it to the regional impact. So we're waiting on official confirmation of that. We would like to add those points as requested from the French Broad River MPO. For public comments, again, we received 76 in support of I-77 and Westmoreland Road and 9 against. Again, it was just general either support for the project, talking about the need for the community, and then some just concerns of developing the intersection as well. Additionally, the other Cornelius projects on the list received a lot of public feedback because those were also highlighted in the stories in the news. So with 17 support, 19 support, received general support for various other projects on the list, and Troutman, and then NC 84 and Wesley Chapel Road and South Potter Road. And just in general, it was we received comments in each of the counties in our jurisdiction, but again, the focus was on Exit 27, which is also I-77 and Westmoreland Road, because that was the primary news. That's what the news articles focused on. So with that, again, this is to affect 15%, or the regional impact scores are affected 30% overall, but we have the ability to affect 15% of that overall total score. So our points, in those 100 points, affects up to a maximum of 15 points for the overall project. The SDI legislation requires that the MPO do a quantitative and qualitative process for modal allocation. And then any adjustments to the methodology must be justified. And again, we can apply local input points. We get so many local input points due to our MPO's population. For the MPO, in our methodology, we do allow for the board to deviate from the recommended list based upon public comments. So they can use those public comments if they so choose to reallocate the local input points as assigned. But again, the feedback that we received was kind of general supporting. So it wasn't necessarily any new information that would necessarily merit any adjustment of the point recommendation. But again, we receive anything by the end of today, we will bring it to a transportation staff meeting and seek input for the best process for next steps with that. For milestones, we're here at the August TCC asking for action to recommend to the board. It will then go to the board this month to give us time to submit these submit the local input point preference to the spot office. And then we will start this process again in September to assign local input points to our division needs tier. And again, keeping in mind that as of today, the regional impact tier for Region E currently is unfunded. Region F only had $8 million. And then for the division needs, both those, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Region E is the negative 400 million. Region F had the $8 million. And then the two division levels are also in the negative numbers as well. So with that, the action requested is to recommend the CRTPO board to endorse the application of local input points to the draft regional impact projects.
All right, may I have a motion to recommend to the CRTPO board to endorse the application of local input points to draft the regional impact projects?
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
The 15 points that were donated. 14, sorry. Do we just accept those without like, is that just like, thanks, they just get, is that how that works?
So it's for
Would be included in this action?
Yes.
And are they being applied to a project that we also applied points to?
No, so we can't apply more than 100 points or more than would be our percentage of it. So we did not apply points to this project. This project does not rank high enough for that.
So it will have just a random 14.
Yeah, so they gave us points to specifically place on that project. It is in the list of projects. To the best of my knowledge, there is no concern about applying points to a passenger rail service from Salisbury to Asheville. It does not affect any other projects that we are aware of. So we are comfortable with applying the points to that. And we're asking for that recommendation that you are comfortable as well.
Just needed to understand it more. Thanks, sir.
All right, may I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And may I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? All right, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? It carries unanimously. Thank you. And we're moving into your second presentation, 2026-2035 TIP development process, existing and committed projects.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so again, this is carrying on about the P 7.0 conversation, except for this is for the existing committed projects. The action requested on this item is to recommend that the CRTPO board endorse the seniority approach to identify priorities of existing and committed projects in the 2026-2035 TIP development process throughout the CRTPO planning area. And again, this item is due to the shortfall in the amount of funds that are available for each of the STI categories. So we want to talk about the priorities of existing committed projects. Again, just briefly touch on what the seniority approach is and go back to the action requested. So we received an email on June 26th from the STIP unit asking us to identify priorities of existing and committed projects for the development of the 2026-2035 STIP. The rankings are just one of the many inputs that NCDOT is considering as part of this process in developing the draft STIP. Existing committed projects were previously selected for funding in the 2024-2033 STIP, and they came either in the P 3.0, 4.0, or 5.0 development process. NPOs and divisions must submit any revisions to the rankings of the STIP by August 30th. We met with Division 10 and Division 12. Both the divisions endorsed the seniority approach. We also did have a meeting with the town of Mooresville, and they submitted a public comment period in the form of they submitted public comment in the form of a resolution identifying their local priorities for projects in the Division 12 list. But the CRTPO still is recommending the seniority approach due to the number of factors that are also being considered with the list. It's not a straight with these projects in this order, and that's the way they would be funded. There's the other variables. So for example, they're considering funding availability, project delivery schedule, project sequencing, if they've already started to collect right away. So this is just one of the many factors they are considering as part of this development process. So the seniority approach, so that ranks each project in the STI funding category based upon the highest score from that prioritization cycle. So the highest score in P3, going to the lowest score in P3, then moving on to P4, highest score in P4 to the lowest score in P4. Again, the prioritization cycles are not directly comparable because there are tweaks made to the ranking for each cycle. Projects that become unfunded in the draft STIP would then be reprioritized in P 8.0. And of course, the project list was incorporated in your agenda packet along with the public comment from the town of Mooresville. So with the action requested is to recommend that CRTPO board endorse the seniority approach to identify priorities of existing committed projects in the 2026-2035 TIP development process through the CRTPO planning area.
All right, any questions? Okay, may I have a motion to recommend that the CRTPO board endorse the seniority approach to identify priorities of existing and committed projects in the 2026-2035 TIP development process throughout the CRTPO planning area? Again, may I have a motion? Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, that carries unanimously. We are changing presenters. Next, we're going to hear from Judy on the CRTPO Title VI and Limited English Proficiency Plan Update Public Comment Period. That's too many.
Good morning, thank you. Today we're talking about last month we did information about the limited English proficiency and Title VI plan updates. And today I have an action request for you to recommend that the board approve the opening of a 30-day public comment period for the updated plans. So just basically we're updating both Title VI and our LEP plans. They are designed to ensure that we have non-discrimination in our plans and programs, and that we provide meaningful access to all of our community members for public involvement. We use the 2020 census and 2022 5-year American Community Survey data to evaluate those targeted populations within our planning area. And the update is focused on the changing demographics and language needs throughout our planning area. So in our plan, it applies the Federal Highways Degree of Impact methodology through that Census Bureau data. We identified the census tracts with concentrations of EJ populations, which are included as part of the Title VI and LEP plan. It includes the methods to ensure, we apply methods to ensure identified populations are reached. And the plan also establishes the reporting process for Title VI compliance and violations. And with that, the request is that you recommend that the CRTPO board approve the opening of a 30-day public comment period for the updated Title VI and Limited English Proficiency Plan.
Thank you. All right, any questions? Okay, may I have a motion to recommend that the CRTPO board approve the opening of a 30-day public comment period for the updated Title VI and Limited English Proficiency Plan?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Next, we'll move on to the 2055. Is that right? Metropolitan Transportation Plan. Thank you, Neil.
Morning. So the action requested before the TCC this morning is to recommend to the CRTPO board that they approve the goals and objectives for the 2055 MTP. So I'll be covering a summary again of phase 1 public engagement that was focused around the goals and objectives, reviewing some minor revisions to the goals and objectives themselves, touching on the existing conditions report, and closing with next steps. So here are the public engagement events. We were out in a lot of our member jurisdictions throughout the month of June. In addition, we conducted a presentation of the Joint Use Task Force, and then we released a special edition newsletter. So in terms of the survey results, we had 274 participants, and we had over 690 comments. Within the interactive map function on our website, we had over 300 pins placed. This was posted on our website, and the pins indicate transportation challenges or needed improvements throughout the planning area. Again, this data will be used as guidance throughout the planning process and as a resource for TCC members to consider during the project submission phase. Equity focus groups, these are about to get underway. We're engaging directly with EJ communities, and the project team is connecting with communities to identify participants. This will run throughout August, and it will gather greater input on goals and objectives and key plan elements. So moving into the goals and objectives, this began by looking at the goals and objectives that are approved for the 2050 MTP. The staff and consultant team reviewed these. We had several rounds of steering committee and advisory committee review. And then we put those out for the public comment period. And then we had a third round of review from the steering and advisory committee. And we had some minor comments that I'll talk about in a minute. The results of the goals and objectives survey, the majority of participants agreed or strongly agreed that the objectives supported the goals, and the vast majority of comments received did not create the need for additional revisions or were covered in a different goal. So again, 690 comments were received, general observations were recorded, suggestions for edits compared against all existing goals and objectives, responses identified, certain areas needing clarification, and specific project type comments were flagged for later use. So the steering and advisory committees reviewed all of these comments and recommended revisions, and they signed off, the advisory committee signed off on the revised goals and objectives to move forward for the consideration before the TCC today. So I'll briefly go through our 6 goals again, and there were really only minor revisions suggested within goal 2. So this is goal 1. Again, there are no edits recommended following the public comment period. Goal 2, 2.1, the advisory committee recommended adding for all users there at the very end. And then objective 2.4, adding time competitive for the objective associated with transit agencies, ensuring that we have reliable travel times with our transit services throughout the planning area. Goal 3, there were no edits recommended following the public comment period. Same with goal 4. Also no edits recommended following the public comment period for goal 5, as well as goal 6. So moving into the existing conditions report, we're finalizing the outline and storyboard, developing maps, graphics, and narratives. We are going to be seeking the input of the steering committee and the advisory committee, and this will really lead up to the scenario planning effort that I'll talk about here in a minute. So on the right, you can see some example pages here where we're summarizing existing trends associated with crash data, vehicular access for residents, and then percentage of residents that are driving alone to work. There'll be several different components that are listed here on the left, and this will really be kind of the first deliverable that will be presented to the TCC and the board and our residents, but this will fold into the ultimate deliverable, which will be the final report. So the next steps, obviously there's action before the TCC. If that's approved, this action will go to the board for them to approve the goals and objectives for the 2055 MTP. During the September or following the September TCC meeting, and I'll talk about this at the end of the meeting, we do plan on having a workshop for TCC members to review what we did with scenario planning for the 2050 MTP and tweak those scenarios for the 2055 MTP. So I'll be talking more about that at the end of the meeting. We'll also be providing that feedback to the CRTPO board during their September meeting. We are starting work on the financial projections associated with the 2055 MTP. We plan on finalizing those and bringing those to the advisory committee, then the TCC and the board later on this fall. Planning on opening the project submission window for candidate projects either in December or in January of next year. And again, TCC members will be submitting projects on behalf of their member jurisdictions. So I'll conclude with the action requested and happy to take any questions that anyone has.
All right, are there any questions for Neil? Okay, may I have a motion to recommend that the CRTPO board approve the 2055 MTP goals and objectives? Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries unanimously. All right, our last business item is Beyond 77 Coalition update. We're going to hear from Paul.
All right, thank you. Good morning. All right, so coming to the TCC this morning to request the action that you see on the screen here in front of you to approve the structure, which is something you've seen pretty similar to the format of this presentation from last month for the Beyond 77 Coalition.
And we're seeking a recommendation from this group today and ultimately approval from our board later this month so that we can get concurrence and begin work on this important initiative. So we'll walk through a background of the Beyond 77 study briefly, description of the coalition and the proposed coalition structure and the makeup of that body, and then look ahead at other ongoing and upcoming efforts. So with any Beyond 77 presentation, we typically start with a brief background and a little bit of context to describe the overall purpose and intent of the study. This study began in 2019, and the final report was adopted by our board in 2022. So it examines transportation policies, programs, and planning in the vicinity of the I-77 corridor between Statesville and the state line. The focus of the study was not the corridor of I-77 itself or any capacity analysis along that segment of surrounding transportation network. But the final plan made a series of over 200 recommendations related to multimodal mobility in this area. And we'll discuss a few of those key recommendations on the next slide here. So we evaluated the strategies and solutions recommended in that final plan in partnership with a task force group, which was made up of multiple jurisdictions, staff from across the region, and elected leadership as well. Through that evaluation, the priorities on the screen rose to the top. So you can see there were 26 top recommendations prioritized by our task force in the mobilization phase. And the top three here, creation of Beyond 77 coalition, was tied with those other top two as the top priority. So since that time, we worked hard with our focus group, which includes members of our current CRTPO policy board, our chair, our Division 10 BOT rep, and other emeritus chairs from that group to determine, the proposed coalition structure you see here on the screen, and which was presented last month as well. So the executive committee here would serve as a subcommittee to the CRTPO policy board, and you can see that first bullet the first couple bullets talk about the scope of their work. The advisory committee would be made up of TCC reps to provide staff support and input. And then our focus group would remain on an advisory capacity to provide staff and the broader coalition input. And then our intent would be to assemble an ad hoc business focus group that is assembled sort of as needed to provide input on topics of relevance to their expertise to this group. So here you can see the geographic makeup of our executive and advisory committees. The goal here is to have representation from each geography and each jurisdiction along the Beyond 77 corridor study area, but also to have expertise to speak to topics of importance like planning, public health, bike, pedestrian, transit. The intent is that these groups would meet quarterly in a hybrid capacity, and the advisory committee would make recommendations to our executive committee similar to the structure of the TCC and our CRTPO policy board. So finally, I'll point out some just exciting work that's ongoing and upcoming. We have administrative updates that we continue to work through sort of on our website. We want to continue to make sure our online resources are current and accessible from the Beyond 77 work, and then continuing to identify opportunities to advance implementation of the Beyond 77 final plan recommendations. The second major bullet here is the transit focus, transit study for our Beyond 77 group. And this is a partnership that we're working on with Connect Beyond that will work to advance the transit focused elements of both of those plans. And so we're excited to see opportunities to continue to kind of connect the dots on some of those region-wide planning efforts. So for those of you who are involved in the transit providers work group, you'll be hearing more from that effort in particular this fall after we kick off in September to begin kind of the main work of that effort. And so with that, I'll click over to our final slide and just request the TCC action and yield the floor back to Liz.
Thank you, Paul. Are there any questions? Yes.
Good morning. Thank you for that. I'm curious to know, you did name drop Connect Beyond, and it made me wonder, I didn't see Centralina on the group, and I wonder if they might be a worthy addition for not just their work in Connect Beyond, but also with their TDM work that they partner with us on, and that's coming to fruition at this point. They're going to be starting to work on that, in earnest in the CRTPO region with the regional, with the grant they've been given from CRTPO. So I'm kind of curious to know with that, did you guys discuss that at all? I mean, I'm just kind of curious to know about that.
Yeah, it's a good comment. I think we have a strong connection with the Central Line of staff who have been working on those efforts, and the TDM is, of course, of particular interest. I think that's something we could definitely bring back to our focus group to get their input on if we want to add a formal spot on the advisory committee for Central Line.
As a follow-up, would that require action every time a new member is proposed? Would we have to come back to the TCC for that, or would that just be an internal administration?
I think that would be internal. I think we're getting, I think there's expectation that the roster may change slightly, basically through addition for, comments like that. But I think we want to get TCC and board approval for kind of the general direction and approach for the coalition today.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any further questions? Okay, may I have a motion that the CRTPO board approve the proposed Beyond 77 coalition structure?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that carries unanimously. Now we're going to hear from Kendall, and he's going to provide us an update on the Marshville bypass tolling study update.
Good morning, everyone. Kendall Glenn, CRTPO. I'll be providing an update on the Marshville bypass tolling study. First, I'll talk about the scope of the Marshville bypass, the pre-submittal assessment that was done last year, the update on the tolling study, and lastly, the details to the UP-WP amendment. Marshville bypass is part of a controlled access facility plan for US 74, potentially bringing interstate designation. The bypass is a 5-mile, 4-lane expressway with a tolling system to help keep local traffic in Marshville while sustaining economic activity. Last year, the bypass was analyzed as a toll facility under NCDOT's pre-submittal assessment. The results of the assessment stated that on its own, the bypass would not cover its maintenance and operations. However, a potential option is a tolling system with the Monroe Expressway. After that assessment, the CRTPO board approved a resolution to further analyze the project's viability as a tolled project. After the approval of that resolution, it was determined that a traffic and revenue study should be conducted due to concerns about outdated information being used in the pre-submittal assessment. The traffic and revenue study will produce a 40-year forecast with toll rates set to match the Monroe Expressway. The cost of the study is $50,000, and it will take 8 weeks to complete. With that being said, we will be requesting an amendment to the FY 2025 UPWP to include the study of this project. This amendment will not require any transfer of funds or request any additional dollars. It will be a text amendment. Next steps, we'll be presenting this information to the board later this month, then returning in September to request approval to amend the UPWP. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Are there any questions?
Hi, Kendall. So maybe I missed it. Why are we doing the study again?
Yes, ma'am. So last year we did a pre-submittal assessment as a toll facility under NCDOT's terminology. And in that assessment, it was stated that the bypass would not cover its maintenance and operations. And speaking with Union County and Marshville, they were concerned that the information used in that assessment was outdated. And we want to conduct this study to make sure that's the case.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Kendall. Moving on to our last section, as always, you have updates on construction projects in Division 10 and 12 that were included in your packets. Both Sean and Anil are with us today. If you have questions for them, feel free to grab them after the meeting. Roger, do you have an update for us? Oh, Roger's not here. Oh, thank you. Alex.
Thank you. Good morning. Several things because we just had our webinar, so I'm reloaded with things to talk about. First one is that we now have a permanent director for our division. For those that probably were not following along, our director left for a different opportunity at DOT, so we had an interim that was been running it for the last forever time period, it seems like. So we finally have that. His name is Brennan Fuquay. He was the person serving as the interim director. He's now our permanent director. So a little bit of shuffling of our division at the moment. But it's. I think that'll assure, moving forward that we'll have more direction. So looking forward to that. We did have our webinar last Thursday. And so I just wanted to talk about several of the things that were discussed there. The first of which is something that I know Curtis is going to talk about today regarding the Great Trails State Plan Network update. So that's an existing plan that we actually produced. And so we attempt to do an annual call to do updates for that. So they're going to be looking for anything from planning level documents, studies, public input that, communities may have had, in the last year or two. That they may want to add to our, overall list for the trails plan. And so we're currently asking for submissions on that. And they also have a survey that's ongoing at the moment. I believe that is ongoing through September that we're taking these updates. So if you have anything that you feel is worthwhile to add to that, please do feel free to do that. I know that we're going to be talking about the work group today. So this time I'm stealing Curtis's thunder. At the staff meeting yesterday, he talked before I did. So he got to talk about that. Also, just you may have seen that it actually closed yesterday, but we have been offering some opportunities to partner with IMD if you're interested in applying for certain federal grants. The one that actually closed yesterday was for the Reconnecting Communities pilot. So that ended yesterday, but we are looking at potentially doing more of those opportunities opening up, with our on-call consultants. We're offering people to submit their projects to us if they're interested in getting some additional help putting together a grant proposal. So please do keep an eye out for those as we send them out as best as we can. But if you have not, this is the first time you're hearing about that, please do feel free to reach out to me. We can make sure that you're on that mailing list so that when those opportunities do arise, that you're aware of them. The next thing is our multimodal planning grants. So we just announced those that will begin at the end of this year or early next year. You probably will remember that we do the call for those towards the beginning of each calendar year. So we had 8 awardees this year. So Lenore and Alexander counties. We had a couple in Brunswick County, a couple of communities. Mount Gilead in Montgomery County. Salisbury was probably the largest community that was awarded one, up in Rowan and up in Surrey County as well. So about $500,000 was awarded for that, including federal, state, and local match included. So if you have a plan that you would like to get updated, it's over 5 years of age. If you would like to have a bicycle or standalone pedestrian or potentially a combination plan, those occur every year, and I make sure to trumpet those when that grant process opens up. So if that is of interest to your community. Our travel demand management grants awardees we usually have the same folks apply for those. City of Charlotte, Sustain Charlotte, and Central Anna were all awarded TDM money this particular year. If your communities have an interest in TDM, we open those up usually around the same time as our multimodal planning grants. So that's also open, not necessarily, as you just heard, to transit agencies. We also award that to Land to Sky over in the mountains and part over in the Triad as well. So that's an interesting and potentially useful opportunity for communities here. Our bicycle helmet initiative has been announced. We distributed 12,500 children's helmets throughout the state. to 157 different organizations. That does not have to be a jurisdiction. That can be, lots of nonprofits tend to apply for those. They do have to do some reporting, but it's essentially 50 or 100 free children's helmets of various sizes that you can give away at events that you may be holding. So that also usually kicks off in January or February. And then I did note that we also discussed our PBIN, our pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure network. We did a major update of that. So we've digitized about 3,500 miles of existing sidewalks into that, over 13,000 existing marked crosswalks. And then of those plans I just talked about, we digitized the 45 of those different plans and all the suggestions that came out of those. So that is a more updated data set that may be useful to your communities as well. So that was a lot. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, Warren.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Whoa, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the TCC. Good morning to you. I continue to appreciate the opportunity for the Turnpike Authority to give you a report each month, and I do try to keep it to something that would be relevant to the Charlotte region, which is why you hadn't seen me in a while. Unfortunately for my reporting, most of our efforts this year have been really focused on the Complete 540 project in Wake County, extending the Triangle Expressway. But today, thanks to July, I do have a couple of things to tell you about affecting toll projects in this region, indeed statewide. The first is a bit of bad news with a silver lining. Earlier this year, a smishing scam started focused on tolling. People started getting, Illinois and a few other states started getting, I'm seeing some nods, that's good, started getting these texts claiming that they had tolls due when they didn't, and it was a false link to a site that was basically going to scam them. Well, we put out an anticipatory press release about that back in April to kind of warn people that this was coming. Didn't get a lot of attention, but last month, people in North Carolina started getting those texts. We reintroduced our press release, refocused it, and thankfully this time the media responded. So we had more than 20 media outlets across the state cover that, including some here in the Charlotte region, to try to prevent people from getting scammed by these texts. So happy to report that we're on top of that. The other item that occurred in July that affects folks around here is that we introduced a new type of NC Quick Pass account for our toll collection process. It's called NC Only. It is a license plate based account, not a transponder based account. And as you can tell from the name, it works only within North Carolina. We have found that we have quite a number of customers among the 500,000 invoices we send out a month who are regular users of our North Carolina toll facilities, but for one reason or another aren't interested in getting a transponder. And as a result, they are paying more in tolls, even though they're regular users. So this NC Only account will allow them to just register their plate, get a prepaid account, and they'll still get the prepaid discount without having to have a transponder, without having to have any kind of other attachment to their car. Again, this works only on toll facilities in North Carolina, including the Monroe Expressway and the I-77 express lanes. But it's a new way that we have advanced in our technology to be able to help people who want to use toll facilities to save money when they do that. So that's what's going on with us that's relevant here locally. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. All right, Jennifer.
Good morning. So this is a great time of year. We're going to open our fall call for projects on August 12th. So we'll be coming back with additional information, what the funding amounts are, but I wanted to announce that today. On August 14th at 2 p.m., we'll do a little education session again on how to apply for grants through CRTPO. As we've done in the last 3 or 4 years, 3 years anyway, we have mandatory pre-submittal meetings, and those will be due before October 18th. In the application and in the in the application, when you download it from our website, which is not uploaded yet, it will be uploaded on August 12th, will be some available times for the pre-submittal meetings, and those have been vetted also with NCDOT. So we can certainly meet with you outside of those times, but look for those big chunks of times that are available. And then after your pre-submittal meeting, the applications are due October 31st. And then it will just go through the regular cycle where the information comes to you from the POC on recommendations, and then you all can recommend to the board, and that just goes down. The funding availability is still to be determined. NCDOT is helping us with that. As soon as the POC will meet next week and NCDOT will present the funding availability there. They definitely need to help us on gathering that number as projects close and as funding's going through. More information on that. And again, for anybody that's new here, the fall call will accept new projects and also shortfalls on existing CRTPO awarded projects. So I'm happy to take any questions. I look forward to working with all of you as we go through this process. If you have any questions soon, you can feel free to give me a call or email me. Any questions today?
Thank you, Jennifer. All right, Curtis.
Good morning. I'll just point to the agenda item in your TCC agenda item. Alex spoke to the Great Trail State Plan update a little bit earlier. We are going to talk about this afternoon. We're also planning on some coordination with our counterparts at Gaston, Cleveland, Lincoln on that over the next month. And that submission date is again on September 8th. So we'll look forward to that this afternoon. Please join us if you have time. Thank you. Any questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Neil.
The CRTPO board, after a 2-year contentious process on July 17th, they approved our updated memorandum of understanding. So that includes some updated provisions related to weighted voting as well as a cost share agreement. So following the adoption of the MOU, we're going to start the process of circulating this to all of our voting member jurisdictions for signatures. So hopefully later on this week, I'll be sending an email to all of your town clerks. I'll be copying the CRTPO board delegates and alternates, as well as TCC members. And I would ask the TCC members just to make sure that this moves forward. The attorney that was working with us on updating the MOU has recommended that this be placed on your elected board's upcoming agendas and acted on. That isn't a shall, but it's recommended from our attorney. So every jurisdiction can handle that how they wish. Our board chair has set a goal of having all of the signatures by September 15th. So the new weighted voting provisions and the cost share agreement won't take effect until we have a fully executed document. And that includes all the member jurisdictions as well as the Secretary of Transportation for NCDOT. So just wanted to pass that information along, and appreciation in advance if you could help speed that along within your jurisdictions. And then lastly, just another reminder, slight change of approach with this, but we're going to have our scenario planning workshop following our September TCC meeting. Lunch will be provided. I'll be sending out an Outlook invite on that hopefully today. If you can respond or just indicate that you can or can't attend, that'll help us prepare for the lunch order. And again, the focus will be staff and the consultants for the 2055 MTP reviewing those scenarios that we use, the land use scenarios from the 2050 MTP, and getting direction from TCC members regarding any modifications that need to be made. We aren't anticipating completely new scenarios, but we do want your opinions as local experts in land use and transportation planning as to how we should roll these scenarios out to the board from a regional perspective. So those are the two announcements I had. Any questions from the TCC?
Yeah, so I have a question about the MOU and having the jurisdictions adopt them. Will staff be available, CRTPO staff, to come to our board meetings to explain
Yes.
it? Because I don't feel comfortable explaining it to my board.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm happy to attend any of the elected board meetings as a resource, can answer questions about what's being asked of each jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Neil, when did you say the email was coming?
Hopefully by the end of this week. I'm waiting on an email from the Transportation Planning Division. So I'm going to follow up with them. So hopefully by end of the day on Friday, all of your clerks will have that information in their inbox.
Any more questions? All right, thank you. Travis?
Thank you. One more item. NCDOT is hosting an online voting to acknowledge multimodal transportation projects that have been spurred economic development, improved public health, and enhanced communities. And CRTPO has a project that's up for an award, the Beyond 77 project. So if you would like to help us out, you can vote daily through August 7th, but please go to tinyurl.com/2024 Moby Awards and please vote for the Beyond 77 project. Moby it's 2024 MOBIAWARDS. Moby Awards. Thank you very much. Yes.
I was just going to shout out for Matthews has a movie award
Oh,
too.
great.
So if you can get 3 votes a day. So if you want to do one for 77 and then
Yeah.
one for Matthews, we'd appreciate it.
Please vote for both projects.
Well, then I have to say that Mecklenburg County Park and Rec has a project.
Thank you.
It's on Little Sugar Creek Greenway between I-45 and the Polk Historic Site, has art, has environmental information, interpretation, and all kinds of good stuff. So vote for it too.
Yes. And we have 3 votes. So we vote for all 3 projects, and now I'm terrified somebody else has a project. Hearing none, 3 votes, 3 projects. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. I'll pause for a moment. Any further announcements or discussion? Okay, as always, thank you for your time and participation in the important work that we do here in regional transportation planning. We have completed all items on the agenda. We are adjourned.